with Red True Crime with a new case. So let's see, where are we going to start here? If you saw the description, you know we've got another stabbing, and we're going to go into that in a minute. But if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do so now. Please go ahead and like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff, because it helps keep the channel going. So, and if you are new to this channel, welcome. And if you are a previous viewer, welcome back. Thank you again for the support. So this took place in Fairfax, Virginia on, I believe it was earlier today. If it was either today or yesterday, I'm not sure. But a 16-year-old boy was stabbed at a Virginia high school Wednesday morning. So yeah, it happened this morning. And now they're saying that the students are going to be screened for weapons before classes on Thursday, which I was under the impression that was already happening in high schools all across the country because metal detectors, but I guess that wasn't happening. So, but during the fight, three students, a 15-year-old stabbed a 16-year-old inside West Potomac High School at about 9:40 this morning. A student resource officer was on the scene within seconds, and so this is what the police chief is saying. Now, I'm gonna say this: I saw the video footage because you had kids with cameras, and this happened inside the school. So I saw the video footage, and the best way to essentially describe what happened, color is going to come into play here. And what I mean by that is the color of the shirts they were wearing. Because you had red shirt, black shirt, white shirt. Simple as that. And try to follow me as best you can, and I will do my best to keep it as understandable as possible. So the video that I've seen opens up to a very good sized boy in a red shirt beating down a kid in a black shirt. And beating, I mean, the kid was on the floor and he is just railing on him. And the kid is literally just covered, just pulled up in the fetal position, just absorbing these punches, right? Well, out of the corner of the screen, here comes this smaller kid in a white t-shirt comes over and shoves the kid with the red t-shirt off the kid with the black t-shirt. Follow me so far? And then red t-shirt and white t-shirt, they start going at it and they start beating each other up. And then black t-shirt gets up and he and red t-shirt start going at it. And at some point, the kid with the black t-shirt stabs the kid with the red t-shirt. That is what happens there. Now, the boy who was stabbed, the boy in the red t-shirt, who was the aggressor, who was the one who started this. Okay. The boy in the red who was obviously, I mean, based on the footage, let me make this clear. Based on the video footage that we saw or that I witnessed, he appeared to be the aggressor. He is alive. He is injured, but he is alive. So let's start with that. That boy is going to live. So hello everyone. So we're not going to have an Austin Metcalf 2.0 situation here. Thank God for that, because nobody wants to deal with that. But what bothers me in this video, in this footage that was shown, there is an adult. I don't know if he's an administrator, if he was a teacher, I don't know. But he's just walking past while these kids are just wailing on each other, not even attempting to try to break up this fight. And that's problem number one for me, right there. Because had he broken up the fight when it first started, kid may not have gotten stabbed. So they need to talk to that guy because I'm not sure what his deal was. But let's see, we look at this really quick. And then again, all these kids are just kind of standing around with the cameras, just videoing, and that's all they're doing. They're just watching. Nobody's trying to intercede. No one's trying to do anything. So, but the boy who did do the stabbing, he has been arrested, and unfortunately, he was also the one who was getting beat down on. So, the video footage that I saw, I'm sure any reasonable jury would say, okay, kid was defending himself. But and however, because the kid in the white t-shirt got in between them and was taking the blows from the guy in the red t-shirt, the kid in the black t-shirt could have just walked away, ran off, whatever. He didn't have to go over there and fight and then stab him. So I do think they can make a case for self-defense, but I think it's going to be a small case. So we will see what happens there. Let's see what else we got on here today. Shannon Sharpe still not looking good at all. It's crazy because every time he tries to put out something to mitigate what she's saying, she comes out with something way worse. And they just need to stop that. Because like today it came out that before she released the text messages and the audio call between her and Shannon Sharpe, yeah, that would be Gabriela Zuniga. Before she released all that, Shannon and his attorney had a meeting, had a mediation meeting with Gabriela Zuniga and her attorney to do a settlement, at a court settlement, because she's asking for $50 million, and he was like, "I'll give you 10." And she said, "No." So now we've got this back and forth of text messages, audio calls, and supposedly a 30-second sex tape or 30-second clip of a sex tape supposed to be coming out too. So I don't know. But I like I said, I mean, Shannon Sharpe is not gonna be looking good on any of this. And they kept talking about he had left in scandal from CBS Sports and that he also had left Fox Sports. I knew he left Fox Sports because of his issue with him and Skip Bayless. And my late husband was a huge fan of Shannon Sharpe, so I didn't really pay attention to it too much back then when he was still alive. But in 2010, he left CBS Sports because there was a woman and she accused him of stalking, harassing, and of assault in a sexual nature. Yeah. So let me see here. We get the details. So in September 2010, Michelle Bundy filed a temporary restraining order against Sharpe in Fulton County, Georgia. She accused him of SA, threats, and stalking. Sharpe voluntarily stepped down from his role at CBS's The NFL Today during this period. Now, shortly after Bundy voluntarily dismissed the restraining order, and Sharpe was neither arrested nor charged with any crime. CBS reinstated him to his analyst position following the dismissal. And then in 2024, Bundy filed a motion to amend her complaint in an ongoing lawsuit against Sharpe, alleging defamation and emotional stress stemming from his public statements. Now, I'm not exactly sure what all that entails right there because I don't remember hearing him talk about this. But here's what I am going to say. It is said, Jason Whitlock on his show did talk about when he worked at Fox Sports. He worked there and Shannon was there at the same time. He did say that HR had a massive file on Shannon Sharpe for behavior, but he didn't go into details as what that behavior is. But apparently their HR has a file on him. So whether it's harassment, whatever, there is an HR file on Shannon Sharpe for bad behavior. So let's play this back. So we've got him at CBS Sports, being accused of SA, threats, stalking of a female staff member, to the point where she had a restraining order against him. Leaves there, goes to Fox Sports, has a blow up, dust up with Skip Bayless. But now, he left because of that. But, we're finding out there's this massive file on him. And now that he's got his own thing with, Club Shay Shay, Nightcap, all his little shows he does, now he's screwing around with a 19-year-old OnlyFans celebrity, and it's coming back to bite him in the ass. And to quote her, 25,000 a cheek. That's what she had said in one of the text messages. Hey, I know you want this, 25,000 a cheek. Oh, goodness gracious. She talks about in the messages that came out today, it was a transcript I read. She did say no means no, and that he had come over to the house. He anally essayed her. She asked him to wear a condom. He did not do so, and he did it anyway. And she said she told him no. No means no. And she's right. No means no. Doesn't matter what part of the action you're in, at any point when a person says no, you're supposed to stop, man or woman, you're supposed to stop. You know, I think her intention of getting with Shannon Sharp in the beginning was to get pregnant, have a baby by him, and basically be on his, income to the end of time. I think that was her initial play. You know, that didn't happen. And the only reason I'm saying that is because she made comments like, give me that baby gravy, put a big black baby in me, baby arm, all these other, these things she has said. And that just tells me the mindset that she's in. I think, if anything, she's bitten off way more than she can chew with him. I think there's a behavior with him that she had no idea that was going to happen. And based on these allegations in these other previous lawsuits and whatnot he has dealt with, it does show a pattern of very bad behavior that makes it suspect, makes it her case of what she's saying even that more valid. So it's a shame because I always thought he was an interesting kind of guy. And now I find out he's a complete monster. It's like, ugh. Well, alleged monster, alleged. Because he's not been found guilty in a court of law yet for any of this. So I'm going to keep it fair there. He has not been convicted of anything at this point, but it's not looking good. And like I said, every day when I see a new thing, I'm like, oh my goodness, Shannon, shut up. Don't release any more stuff. Don't talk. Just stop. But there you have it right there. Let's see. I really can't think of anything else to talk about at this point, but I just wanted to get that out there that there's been another high school stabbing in Potomac, Virginia. And Shannon Sharp ends up being a little bit of a creep. Kind of upsetting, you know? But I would love any comments, questions, thoughts on anything regarding these cases. I'm about to upload my Thursday's Child episode of Mary Agnes Maroney. So you will see that after midnight tonight. Watch that. I apologize for the audio on that. I was playing around with some stuff and it's going to be a little low. So I apologize for that. But yeah, I mean, that's all I got. Oh my God, how did I forget this? Annie Locke. Oh, wow. Okay, big, huge case. So this got sent to me. I got tagged on this a couple days ago. Annie Locke is a woman who went missing in August of 2024, and they found her body like a couple months later. Or no, I'm sorry, take that back. She went, last time she was heard of was like August 14th. They filed a missing person report for her in October of 2024. They just found her remains a few days ago, and they have identified her as Annie Locke. Her ex-boyfriend has been arrested. His name is Tyreek Williams. He's been arrested in her case. Now, I did a little deep dive on him. Her family right now is trying to get custody of her child that she has with Tyreek. And Tyreek's family's fighting them on it. So there's that aspect. But what's interesting is Tyreek is in the military. So when he finally got arrested, he was in Missouri, with the army. So they had to bring him back, and they're extraditing him right now as we speak back to North Carolina. But I think he got rid of her because he didn't want to pay child support. That's just my thought. Because when I was looking into his background, because he was here in North Carolina in Fayetteville, I looked him up, and he's got a lot of like speeding issues and whatnot. But there was a child support order put in place August 12th, 2024. Do you hear what I'm saying here? August 12th, 2024. Child support order was put into place. Last time Annie Locke was seen alive was August 14th, 2024. Now, according to the affidavits that her sister, Tanya Locke, has been submitting to the courts trying to get custody of the child, she's saying that they believe he and the rest of his family are involved in her death and that he took her phone and was continuing to text family for a while, pretending to be her. That's pretty diabolical. So that is what's going on with that. But it's just weird. It kind of reminds me of Marissa Carmichael's case. Yeah, I know. I try to tie everything back to Marissa Carmichael because Marissa Carmichael actually had a child support case that was supposed to be heard 2 days after she went missing, that summarily got dismissed. And she is the woman out of High Point, North Carolina, that went missing in Greensboro, North Carolina on January 14th, 2024. So it's been a little more than a year on her. And she has 5 kids. And she was in the process of going through social services to try to get support for them because her baby daddy, who's supposed to be the father of the youngest four, from what I understand, he just was not helping her out with anything. He just wasn't. And the children had been taken away and were in foster care at this point, but she was still going to court, trying to get custody back, trying to get the support she needed, medical, financial, all that stuff. But she went missing that, Sunday, January 14th, she went missing. That Monday was Martin Luther King Day. And the day after that, January 16th, she was supposed to be in court for this case, for her child support case. And guess what? It got dismissed because she never showed up. So I do think that is part of one of the reasons why she went missing. I still think he, the baby daddy, his name is Charles Lindsay, Gimel McIntyre, whatever name he decides to go by, or street name of Smoke. But I still believe he wholeheartedly is involved in why she has been disappeared. That's my thought. I have no proof of this. Not a single bit of proof. So let me make that clear. Everything I say about this is pure speculation. But if you look at the court records, there was a lot of DV issues with them, him beating on her. He had a lot of drug issues. He had selling, that type of stuff. He got busted for selling on school grounds. So he got into a lot of trouble for that. And then there was the DV issues, and he even has animal cruelty charges on him, animal abuse. So he's just not a good person. Whoever can do something bad enough to get animal abuse charges on them, that's bad. Okay. I mean, that's just a bad person altogether. And now he's got members of his family talking about how he's going to be going to jail because they're finding all the bodies he's been involved. He's helped make disappear. So I don't know on that. But when you look at all of that and the fact that he was so in and out of her life, causing problems, all that stuff, it makes you think maybe he was involved. I mean, that's just the conclusion I come to. But I am me. It is what it is. I mean, Marissa did run with a nefarious crowd. I mean, she was in that life, that club life, that uh adult entertainment life. She was doing that stuff. Or she may not have been doing it that night, but she had a history of that. Yeah, and people are going to say, Rebecca, why do you keep saying this? She's never been charged with anything, and that is correct. She never has been charged for anything. However, and all the time I have been covering her disappearance, I've had people send me her ads, a video that was shot of her having intimate relations with another man. You know, ads of her advertising that she will be paid for intimate relations, these type of things. So yeah, she was doing that, and I don't judge her for that because everybody has a reason for why they do that for money. I'm. If I was ever in a position, I would probably have to do that, if I ever had to. But as I digress, like I said, I do believe smoke has something to do with why she went missing. That's just my opinion. But that family is just sad altogether, you know. Mm, okay. So, yeah, Annie Locke, like I said, this guy, they're bringing him back from Missouri, Tyreek Williams. They are charging him with failure to report a death and I think murder, if I'm not mistaken. But they found her in a pond in Robeson County. They found her in a pond. How It's just awful. Absolutely awful. And she had a baby. She had a child that was like practically a newborn when she went missing. So that's just very, very sad because that child is not going to ever really know her. They're going to grow up going, "Where's my mom? Oh, my dad killed my mom. Great." And this is a story I'm getting so tired of hearing about, where these men are unaliving these women because they don't want to pay child support or they don't want to be a dad or they don't want to have kids or they don't want to do any of that stuff. So here's what I'm going to say. Broskies, if you're gonna screw around with women and that are in childbearing age, wrap it up, dude. Seriously. That is how you control that. You wrap it the hell up. Done. Okay? Because I'll tell you right now, that will pretty much keep any surprises from happening on different levels. Children, diseases, whatnot. Wrap it up. Okay? Because I am so tired of hearing about these cases of men unaliving women because they don't want to have kids or they don't want to be with that woman or they don't want to be beholden to this woman for the next 18 years paying for a child that they really didn't want. Getting really tired of hearing about this because it is happening way too much. Way too much. And I just don't understand why it keeps happening. I just don't get it. You know? I mean, there was a case a couple years back where a guy murdered, I should say murdered. He unalived um a girl that he had a child with, and he took the baby's only maybe a couple months old, and threw it into the river. So not only did he unalive the mother, he unalived the baby. What did that child do? That child didn't do anything to you. What the heck was that all about? You know? I'll never understand this crap. I'll never understand the true mind of a killer, the true mind of any evil person. I just won't get it. Because at the end of the day, this comes down to basic psychology, but it doesn't really explain everything. And yeah, I just don't get it. I don't. And then sometimes when you research these cases and when you research these cases, it gets old. It gets overwhelming because all you're seeing is death day in and day out. And you start seeing a pattern of how these things keep happening. Yeah, I mean, it gets on you sometimes. So you might see where I'll do a bunch of stuff and then you won't see me do anything for like a week or so, maybe even 2 weeks, because I have to take a mental break from this sometimes because it just weighs on you so much. Um, I've had my own things with drama and with crime and crap, like, my late husband was not the best person, you know. Um, I very easily could have been one of these stories that I talk about. A woman who married the wrong man and it just turned out so badly. And we had some issues, he and I did. Um, I'm more of a talker. He was more of a physical solver on his stuff. And unfortunately, when we would have conversations, and if he couldn't answer why he was doing whatever he was doing, he would just unleash and hurt me. And at any point, that could have he could have gone too far, and I could have very easily have been one of these case stories that I talk about. I keep that in mind every time I get a case that focuses on anything with DV or brutality, anything like that, because, like I said, I very easily could have been one of these cases. I could have been. Fortunately, I'm not, because I'm here talking to you. And unfortunately, my thing only stopped because he died. And he died tragically. I did everything I could to get him help. It was interesting though, because like the last month or two, his mom had died. God, 6 months before he did. His mother had passed, and he didn't take it well. He wasn't close to his mom because they had a very love-hate relationship, but he was sounding very suicidal the last few months he was alive, and got him into therapy. And I remember being in that very first therapy session with him, the little meet and greet with the doctor, and he openly admitted for the first time ever that domestic violence was going on in our home, and he was the cause of it. I mean, the look on my face, I think that woman thought I was having a stroke when he admitted that openly, because I was like, wow, because he never took responsibility for that ever. And to hear him do that was eye opening. And because before, when I would ask him why he was doing what he was doing to me, I like, why? What did I do to deserve this? And he said, "You just make me mad, Beck. You just make me mad sometimes." And I'm just like, because I disagree with you on something, because I won't jump and do what you want me to do immediately at that moment. That makes you mad. Or the other one I used to get was, "You remind me so much of my mother." Okay, I don't know what I did to do that. Um, but I stayed. I stayed for 22 years with that man. And I only started getting brave like the last 6 months he was alive, because I got to the point where my health was I had lost all this weight. I had improved myself so much, but he was getting just decrepit. I mean, his health was going downhill because he was getting seizures. The drinking was so bad because his body was just falling apart. And I think he saw me getting stronger mentally, emotionally, and one of the worst beatdowns I ever had with him was like 3, 4 months before he died. It was like 4 months before he died. We got into it, and he had me on the floor. Had me on the floor. And I had just almost given up on my own life at that point. And, if anybody here wants to fact check me on what I'm talking about with my late husband, you're not going to see anything in court records, as I never once reported him. I never called the police, and very seldom did I actually go to the hospital for my injuries. So, let's just give you a breakdown of some of the injuries I did get from him. I have a permanently swollen part of my base of my thumb because one time he was hurting me so bad I had covered my head and he just kept hitting my hand and it just swelled up so bad. I went to the hospital for that because I couldn't move my thumb, and I didn't tell them what happened. I just made up something, and so yeah, that bone has never gone back to normal size, and that was right after we moved to North Carolina. So that was almost 11 years ago that happened. Let's see. St. Patrick's Day, 2008. I had to work that night, and I came home, and he had left the children unattended because he wanted to go out drinking. And when I came home from work, because I worked a marketing job where I would go into clubs and we would sign up people for like the Marlboro mailing list and that crap. I was the marketing manager for that. I came home at like 2 in the morning and my 3-year-old was wandering around the house. And I'm like, what the heck's going on? And he strolled in drunk as you would not believe. And I went off. Not gonna lie, I went off because I'm like, child number three, because I'm not going to release my kids' names on here, but child number three is wandering around. She could have gotten hurt. She could have gotten out. She could have, and he just got mad. He was like, ah, stop screaming at me. And we were in the kitchen. This is when we lived in Lexington, Kentucky. We were in the kitchen. And our kitchen was kind of weird because it was like a very small area because it was like an open floor plan kind of thing with a house. And I remember he grabbed me and just threw me into the counter, caught my ribs against it, and fractured them. And God, I was bruised up, something terrible. And I remember I had to kind of tape them up myself because there was no way I was going to be able to explain that at a hospital. No way. It was only years later. I was having some breathing issues. So this is before he died. So this was, oh gosh, he died in 2022. So this had to be sometime in 2021. I went to the doctor and my primary care did an x-ray film and she was very detail oriented, this particular doctor. And she looked at it and she said, "You've got some healed fractures on this side. Were you in a car accident?" I was like, "No." And she's like, "Oh, do you want to talk about it?" No. So, if you ever want to look at my medical records, let me know. I'll be glad to send them to you. Kidding. No, I'm not going to send you my medical records. But that's really to this day the only proof I truly, truly have about the abuse I took is because it's in medical records, the damage my body has taken from him. I have 2 concussions because of him. 5 in total concussions I've had. 2 of them he caused. I got hip issues because of him. I got back issues because of him. I got kicked down some basement stairs. That was a few years back because he was mad. So when you see women or men, I mean, because this is not strictly just women who go through this. Men go through this too. So I'm going to be the first to say that. Men go through this too. But when you see a person who talks about their story, their history, their issues that they had, people are so quick. Why didn't you call the police? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Woulda, coulda, shoulda. Woulda, shoulda, coulda. Yeah, there it is. Because it's not that easy. It's just not. Um, there is this expectation on the victim's part of shame. We feel shame when we have to openly admit that our partner is hurting us. Nobody wants to admit that because you worry, what if they arrest him or her? What if they get out and do something worse than what they already did? What if they hurt the kids? What if they hurt my reputation? What if they hurt their own reputation? What if next time they kill me? These are all thoughts that go through your head. How could I explain this to my neighbors, or how do I explain this to anybody else? And or I look at you like, oh, I mean, it's just a lot. It's just a lot. And it's not easy to explain, and it's not easy to deal with. And the only thing that heals when you come from a situation like that, time heals all things. It really does. And he's been gone. It'll be 3 years, July 21st. It'll be 3 years that he's been gone. Every year that he is gone, I heal just a little bit more. I did not want him to die. Let me make that clear. I didn't never wanted him to die, but I did want him to get help. And I did want him to be away from me. But there were too many times over the 22 years that we were married that he made the thread that I've ever left. He would find me. I would never leave him. I could never take the kids away from him. These are all things he said. And yeah. Anyway, I tried to get him help. I tried. Not only was he an alcoholic, he was also an opioid addict. So combine those two together, you've got a very, very dangerous person on your hands, especially when he had anger issues to begin with. But I tried to get him help. And I have driven on way more than I needed to. Um, so let's recap. The stabbing in West Potomac, West Potomac, Virginia. The boy who was stabbed is going to live. That is great news. Why he was stabbed, that's the bigger issue. Because he was beating up somebody smaller than him. Two people that were smaller than him. This has to get dealt with. This bullying, this attacking people because they're different from you has to stop. Kids carrying weapons. I mean, it's illegal to have them on school campuses, but at this point, I understand why they're doing it, because anything like this could happen. I mean, this kid was beaten down. I mean, just this kid's head was like bouncing off the darn floor. Yeah, so I understand why he acted the way he did, but was it justified? I don't know, but the kid's going to live. So maybe, hopefully, out of this whole thing, this boy takes a lesson in this and says, oh, maybe I should not mess with people because they might have knives. I don't know. I don't know. But there's victims everywhere. And we as a society need to embrace the victims and assure them that there is no shame in being a victim. But you can't stay a victim. That's the key. You can be a victim, but you cannot stay a victim. And that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to end it on that. So this is Rebecca with Red True Crime. Thank you for tuning in. As I always say, be weird, be rude, be safe, because you're weird and rude. They will not take you, I guarantee it. And thank you for the support. Have a wonderful evening. Wonderful, rest of the week. I'm on medical leave until Monday. So boring. And anyway, have a great, great, great night. Bye, everybody. Oh, you're welcome, Mike. Mike, thank you again for the comments. I appreciate that. And anyway, everyone have a great night, and thank you again. Bye.